Hey, what's up, everybody? Another great episode of Fourth Person Point of View, baby. Today I got a great topic that I wanted to talk about. So for those of y'all who haven't been following, of course, you know President Trump issued his memorandum on his DEI policy. I don't think he's officially issued an executive order yet because I looked online and I can't see the executive order number. So what has happened? He's got with his Secretary of Defense and some of the department heads of every branch, and he's talking about DEI, which he plans to enforce throughout the whole federal government. And if you go back and watch my earlier video, I talked about DEI. But this episode here, we're going to talk about the Red Tails, the Tuskegee Airmen. So apparently, there was a statement released by the Air Force who said that the Tuskegee Airmen would be removed from the training in the Air Force, and it caused a lot of backlash. A lot of people have talked about it. A lot of the news stations have covered the story. I think there's only one remaining Tuskegee Airman alive right now. But for those of y'all who are too young to know, let me read you a little something on the Tuskegee Airmen. I printed this off a while ago. Man, it is small. God. So it says, this came from the Air Force. This is the Air Force website. Air Force Historical Support Division. And what we have here is Tuskegee Airmen. Those air crew and ground crew personnel associated with black flying units of the Army Air Force, AAF, during World War II are known as the Tuskegee Airmen. On 16 January 1941, Secretary of the Army Henry L. Stimson authorized the formation of a Black Pursuit Squadron. The 99th Pursuit, later Fighter Squadron, was activated in March 1941 and began training in separate facilities at Tuskegee, Alabama on 15 November. The 99th Squadron, equipped with the Curtiss P-40s and later Bell P-39s, was sent to French Morocco in April 1943, and it continued combat service from bases in Tunisia, I think I'm saying that right, Tunisia, Sicily, and Italy. In February 1944, the 99th Squadron was joined by three other fighter squadrons, the 100th, the 301st, and the 302nd, and all four squadrons constituted the 332nd Fighter Group, commanded by Colonel, who was later Lieutenant General Benjamin O. Davis, Jr. The group converted to Republic P-47s in April to May of 1944, and to North American P-51s in June. Until the end of the war in Europe, it escorted 15th Air Force bombers and made attacks on ground targets from its bases in Italy. The group earned a Distinguished Unit Citation for an escort mission to Berlin on 24 March 1945. In mid-1943, the AAF decided to organize a black bomber unit, the 477th Bombardment Group, Medium. Activated on 1 June 1943, its pilots were to be trained at Tuskegee, but that airfield, already overburdened with training requirements, was unable to handle the new trainees. Rather than sending black student pilots to white-only schools or creating a new segregated base for them, the AAF delayed crews for the 477th Group until the backlog at Tuskegee could be cleared out. Since Tuskegee was not able to provide North American B-25 medium bomber pilot transition or training for bombarders and navigators, eventually the AAF made an exception to its segregation policy and sent black officers to what had been all-white training establishments for their advanced instruction. Faced with discrimination and often treated with less respect than white officers, their training suffered. As a result, these mounting delays and difficulties, the group was not operational until after the war. Tuskegee was, however, the single school for instruction of black pilots until it closed in 1946. Its graduates, along with other air and ground personnel, trained there for the 477th Bombardment and 332nd Fighter Groups, are the Tuskegee Airmen. Good God, I'm proud of myself. Whew, shit. Good God. Hey, I got good eyes. Thank God. Whew, shit. But that's kind of like a brief summary of the Tuskegee Airmen, aka the Red Tails. So the problem that everybody's talking about is they were somehow going to be removed from the training because it was like they were part of the DEI. But if you have any common sense, or modicum of common sense, I should say, and you understand military history, the Tuskegee Airmen are not part of this DEI bullshit with the Trump administration. They're not. They are part of American history and military history and Air Force history. If there are no Tuskegee Airmen, who knows how World War II would have played out for the United States. This was World War II. Now, this is not some of this modern stuff. This is World War II. Go online and look up your facts. Look at the casualties. This is World War. This is the military Super Bowl when it comes to wars. This is something different here. So I don't understand how in the hell that the Tuskegee Airmen were going to be, well, I do understand, but let's take it from a fourth person perspective. I don't know how in the hell, with all the training in the Air Force, the Tuskegee Airmen were going to be removed from the training. Because I'm sure you got some outdated training manuals, videos, training aids. You got all type of outdated training in your arsenal. Trust me, I know. So I don't know how in the hell you just wake up one morning and hear some shit on the news coming from President Trump, and all of a sudden you want to remove Tuskegee. So let me tell you what happened here. We're going to give it to you that fourth person point of view. Give me a marker or something here. So this is for y'all. We look at things from a different perspective over here. So I'm going to tell you what happened. General Brown. So the chairman of the Air Force is a black guy. Oh, he looks black. The chairman of the Air Force is a black guy. He's General Charles Q. Brown. So we know damn well he probably didn't do it. He could have, but I doubt if he said remove the Tuskegee Airmen from all our training aids. Because if he did now, it would have happened, but I doubt if he did it. So let's look at this like this. So we got the Chair Force. That's what people in the Army call the Air Force. We call it the Chair Force. I didn't misspell that. That's what I meant. So, you got the Chair Force. Okay. And over here, you got the, let's do this like this here. So it makes a little bit more sense. Oh yeah, let's do this here. So come down the hierarchy. So you got the president. Yeah. / commander-in-chief is what he would be in the military. He'd be the commander-in-chief. So he, let's do this like this to make it interesting. So he just issued something that went to the Pete Hegseth. So he's Secretary of Defense. Yes. Pete Hegseth, who is Secretary of Defense. And then we got Trump right here. Then we got Pete Hegseth, who is the Secretary of Defense. Okay, so Trump said DEI, then he goes here. Then it comes back over here. to all the different branches, and we stopping on the chair force, right? So, it's like playing a game of Simon Says. Simon says, I'm implementing DEI policy. This is what I want. Now, there are a lot of issues and concerns with the DEI policy, because some people saying they are literally confused, lost. When you say DEI, what do you mean? And I must admit, you probably do have some innocent airheads in the military that's probably confused, saying, what do you want to do? But nobody necessarily just goes and removes something like the Tuskegee Airmen, because they are such a, I mean, hell, they are the Air Force, if you just want to be honest. But Air Force, that's what we are now, Air Force. So the word has got down from the Commander-in-Chief, Mr. President. He's told Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, and then it's another person right here, which would be General Charles Q. Brown. He's a general, so we're going to put a star right here. And let's go here, General Brown. And there's one. There's going to be a civilian right there with him too. But I doubt if General Brown told him to remove the training. Could have, but I doubt it. So it comes from Commander-in-Chief, Secretary of Defense. This is the chairman of the Air Force. He wears 4 stars. Then it gets to the Air Force right here. Then, once it gets to the Air Force, it comes down to training. So let's switch here. This is where it gets good at. Training. Training. DEI policy. All right, so the word has got to the Air Force. Now we down here in the actual Air Force. We got DEI policy. And what happened was the Tuskegee Airmen were removed from the training. So this is what you want to find out here. Because as long as they saying the Air Force. Shit, man, how many people in the damn Air Force? It ain't many shit, but how many people are in the Air Force? Okay. So the Air Force consists of 689,000 people, according to AI. That says 318,698 active duty. Okay, then you got a reserve. Okay, then you got a little civilian population. So you got 689,000. We're going to roll with it. So you got 689,000. Yeah. 689,000. I'm telling you, they were small. So you got 689,000 people in the chair force. Out of 689,000 people, that could mean so many damn people, so many personalities, so many different groups. What you want to find out from that fucking 4th person perspective, find out who. Who is the, give me a marker. Who is the person? And it's not going to be no low-ranking person, so you can eliminate everybody that's low-ranking. You need to find out what bastard, and it's going to be somebody with some rank. Hold on here. We're going to find some answers here. Air Force Training Command. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so I cannot narrow it down on here. If I was in the military, I would know how to jump online and find who I'm looking for. But we are looking for, we're not looking for this 689,000 because that's too much. We got to narrow this shit down and find out what asshole is responsible for it. So it's either going to be somebody out of training command. That's what we want to know. So training here. So we want to find out the person at the command, training command. I can put CDR, shit. CDR means, that's abbreviation for command. So it's going to be somebody out of training command that has that type of power. That's their area to remove something like that. So it's going to be somebody out of training command. And within there, what we want to know is who. If you could find out who this is right here, we can bypass all this, the Air Force. Because a lot of losers hide behind group identity and titles. So you never want to do the brand. You got to delve into that goddamn, into the ranks and find out who did it. And it has to be somebody out of training command, or it could have been a person above them. But if it's somebody above the training command, it's got to be somebody between the training command and the general, because those are the only people who have that kind of power. Nobody just walks in the military one day and say, hey, we don't wear boots anymore. That comes from somebody with some authority, because you can't tell 689,000 people and all new recruits what to do based off what you want. So it has to be somebody, like nobody without the proper rank would even stand up and say anything. It has to be somebody with some authority. And what I'm assuming from the fourth person perspective, it's going to be an asshole. I'm thinking now, this thing can go either way. It's going to be some asshole that didn't want them there anyway. And when they heard DEI, they going along with this bullshit narrative that the media is sending out here. And first thing came to their mind was, look at the blacks up there. You know what? Let's go ahead and remove them. That's what it was. But there is a statement released by the Air Force saying that the training was going to be removed, but now it's been reversed. And then Pete Hegseth, I think they said he made a tweet or a brief statement saying, yeah, they did an about face, which means they reversed the policy. And it could have been him now. I'm not sure. But we know Trump's got this DEI policy. But I think he said there's 60 to 90 days to make all this happen. So it's kind of funny right now that once he comes in talking this DEI nonsense, that all of a sudden you would remove or attempt to remove the damn Tuskegee Airmen. They're too big. It's kind of like a person take office in February and they say remove Colin Powell from the entire military. He's going to be in there in so many different places and hidden places that it's almost only way a person can go in there and just remove him from the military, like remove all of his pictures, is if somebody been looking at the pictures the whole time and they didn't like them. You see where I'm going with this? If you've been looking at Colin Powell's pictures, which they got his pictures on a lot of military installations. I actually took a picture of one. I'll post it. But I took a picture of one. But only way you can go and remove that picture is if you've been looking at this picture and that picture over there all these years and you didn't like them. So first time you get a chance to remove some shit, you go straight here, straight there. I'm willing to bet you also, I'm willing to bet you, I think I'm right, the only way you can remove the Tuskegee Airmen from a lot of the Air Force training, you're going to have to spend some money. Because a lot of the training that they do, it's coming in, it's coming from an outside source where they make all this training material. So they probably got military and civilian elements coming together to produce that training, and that training is probably very expensive. So some of them videos is passed around the whole military. It has to be approved by the Department of Defense, but it is also made by the Department of Defense and its elements, its civilian counterparts, and they pay. Yeah, they pay for it. So when you talk about removing something that important, yeah, that's a lot of moving pieces. So instead of looking at the chair force, see who. And you might say, well, we know who. We know who the president is. He's not in the damn ranks. And when you talk about DEI, which you cannot remove DEI from the military, it's impossible. You can't remove DEI if it was an all-white military. You got Christians, Jews, you got Pentecostals, you got Presbyterians, you got Methodists, you got Baptists, you got Southern whites, you got Northern whites. You see where I'm going with this? You got Appalachian whites, you got Scottish Irish, you got Irish, you got English ancestry whites. And I learned that in the military. So you have DEI coming from every angle, but find out who. So when people ask questions like this, say, who was the individual? And even though the commander-in-chief went down and said, this is my policy, there has to be an individual who takes the initiative to remove that piece of training from this organization. So it's kind of like, what individual took the picture off the wall? They had to have rank, unless they was just a low-ranking bum. See where I'm going with this? So this is who we need to figure out. This person here, or what person in this training command that actually said, do it. He says DEI, he's his puppet, so I'm not gonna call him a puppet, but it's his job to do what he says do. So I seriously doubt General Brown, who's a black guy, I seriously doubt he told somebody to remove it. He could have, but I seriously doubt it. And if he did, that would be kind of, like, wow. So that's what we're looking at, though. That's what we're looking at there, though. Let's not focus on this here. We need to find out who this is here. Who? Because, like I said, they issued a statement saying that the decision was reversed, which you got so much in there. And I wanted to also talk about as far as the DEI with the Air Force, with the Tuskegee Airmen anyway. So I'm looking here, I got a source, Colonel Charles McGee, who was a Tuskegee Airman. He flew the B-51 pilot. He was a B-51 pilot. He said the Air Force didn't train. Oh, I'm sorry. He said the Air Force did not change the training standards for us, which was a good thing. Because back then they were trying to say that black men were not capable of being pilots anyway. So what he's saying here, they didn't change the standards. They gave them the same standards that they gave white people. The same standard that white boys had when they were pilots, they held the Tuskegee Airmen to the same standard, which killed two birds with one stone. It lets you know, hey, we can think just like they can think, and we're capable of doing any kind of mission they could do. From a fourth person perspective too, since I like being an asshole, if you had more white boys that were in the military back then, you wouldn't have needed black pilots. Let that sink in. Prince Harry is a European, England. He's a veteran. His daddy is a king, European, England. He's a veteran. George Bush is the son of a president himself. His daddy was a veteran and he was a veteran. So most people who love America, especially white boys, they will serve in the military, law enforcement, first responder, or be a doctor, a mathematician, or a scientist. So if true patriots who came here to live the American dream, really love America, and you had a passable amount of brave men who say they love America and they're benefiting from this system, if they would have joined the military, you wouldn't have needed no black pilots in there. Motherfucker. So, Colonel Charles McGee said that, which was a good thing. So it showed that black men had the same intelligence that the white boys had. Then you have 66 Tuskegee Airmen who died during World War II. I think that's something else that you have to factor in, because 66 people, especially if they're pilots, and I'm not saying that all those were pilots, because you can be a Tuskegee Airman and probably be a part of the unit. It's kind of like being Special Forces or a Navy SEAL. You know, you can be a Special Forces soldier and not be infantry, if that makes sense. So 66 Tuskegee Airmen died in combat during World War II, which was a bad war. And then you go here, something else you have to keep in mind. President Harry Truman on July 26, 1948 issued Executive Order 9981, which desegregated the military. So the Tuskegee Airmen were kind of breaking barriers way before desegregation in the military, which is very impressive if you think about it. They were segregated because that was what America was back then. So to accomplish something like that right there before Truman desegregated the military, I think that, I mean, those type of laudable efforts, man, they cannot go unrecognized. You have to respect that for what it is. And then also, you look at, they had 744 air medals, 150 distinguished crosses, you had 14 bronze stars and 1 silver star. And keep in mind with that right there, the Air Force Medal of Honor was not designed until 1965. So if the Air Force Medal of Honor had been around during that time, I don't see why they would not have gotten it. You see where I'm going with this? So they were kind of coming in doing things before the Air Force was kind of implementing some of its, before it was modernizing its forces. Then I looked online also, and you had some Tuskegee Airmen that were Medal of Honor recipients. Excuse me, my mouth is dry here. I'm talking too fast. And I knew it had to be some that received the award. So the Tuskegee Airmen Congressional Gold Medal was awarded to all Tuskegee Airmen, which is good, including some Medal of Honor recipients. So you got Medal of Honor recipient Sergeant Jones, Bivens George Sr., Milton Brooks, you got John Cundiff. Then you got the Congressional Gold Medal recipients. You got Dr. Granville Cox, William Gray, John Miles, Warren Usan, Dr. Eugene Derricott, and Matthew Plummer. So, you know what I mean? Regardless of what's happening with this nonsense right here, I mean, America has already honored them with Medal of Honors. You got Congressional Gold Medal recipients too. And like I said, the Air Force Medal of Honor was not designed to 1965. So these guys were way ahead of their time. But like I said, the Secretary of Defense did issue a statement saying that it will be reversed. But just for the record, you cannot remove the Tuskegee Airmen from no type of Air Force training unless you just actually trying to remove the good stuff from the Air Force. These men, man, these Tuskegee Airmen, they were on another level. And I don't think it's just because I'm a veteran myself that I appreciate it. If they were not there to escort those damn bombers, they couldn't do their job. They were needed. So anybody who's been in the military knows certain aircraft cannot go out on its own. It has to be escorted. And you're escorting it for protection and other things. So It's kind of like some of them worthless boys I was stationed with who were 12 Bravos. And it was kind of a cool thing. I heard one of them say, infantry is the queen of battle. Infantry is 11 Bravo. These boys were 12 Bravos. They said infantry is the queen of battle. But the only reason that bitch don't get raped is because we escort that hoe. I was like, okay, I like that. That's deep shit. So you can apply that to this right here. Only reason those bombers could get where they were going is because of these damn Tuskegee Airmen. They were needed for the missions. If they were not there, mission could not be accomplished. So keep that in mind. So when you try to go out here and throw shade on historical moments, you got to think about it. We wouldn't be here today. Something to think about. We wouldn't be here today. But if some of y'all who doing all this talking, if your great-great-grandfather had the balls to join the military like most true patriots did, now and World War II, you wouldn't have needed to be Tuskegee Airmen anyway. So they were there because your weak ass was scared, bitch. This has been another great episode of Fourth Person Point of View, baby. I'm out.